News.
Notes. What projects got the green light? What got picked up for a new season? From the Billboard Hot 100 to the New York Times bestsellers. The biggest news to the smallest notes. This is News and Notes on Entertainment Weekly Radio.
Hey, I'm Julia Cunningham.
And I'm Mario Correa.
And you are listening to Heathers the Musical, The Special. Woo! We have Larry O'Keefe, or should we go more official and say Lawrence O'Keefe?
If you're writing me a check, call me Lawrence.
Well, Larry.
We are not.
So,
We're definitely not writing a check, Larry. Sorry.
Composer and lyricist of Heathers the Musical.
Woo.
Welcome.
Thank you for being here.
I am so honored. Thank you very much.
You know, we met you, or at least I met you, and I know, Mario, you know Larry, but we met you a year ago, had you on the radar, and you started to kind of play some stuff.
I did.
Which was like still when you guys were in like rehearsals, sort of.
Yeah, it was fancy demos. Heathers, we've been writing it for years, and we did our first real production out in L.A. in around September of last year, but this was before I even left. It was around probably August. And we had just begun assembling our cast, and we went off there and to do our little workshop production, our little diagnostic, and see what was good and what was bad, and we kind of crushed it. And it turned into a sort of a massive sold-out thing that no one could get into, and we turned the president of MTV away, things like that.
Did you really?
Oh,
Larry.
Yeah, tell us some of the turnaway people.
Well, I can
yeah,
tell
tell
you
us who didn't get it. We don't care who was actually there.
Who didn't get it?
People who did not attend included
President Obama.
Yes, exactly.
But can we talk a little bit about just logistic wise, because it is, you know, a big thing to be taking like a movie and turning into a musical. And I know you're familiar with it. We should mention that you've done Legally Blonde and done the same thing sort of, and other things in the works. Mean Girls is in the works, and you're I believe that's your wife.
My lovely
involved.
wife is doing Mean Girls, the musical, and I'm doing Heathers, which Mean Girls is more or less based on.
Right.
So there is.
It's like an updated.
There's a battle of the bands brewing in our house. But yes, it is a very strange, hard thing to take a movie that worked on its own terms and try to add some value for the stage. But you have to add value. You have to make something better or different, or else you can just watch it on Netflix.
Right.
So it's not just enough to add songs. You need to sort of go back to the source material, look at it, what it was trying to say, what it was trying to recommend or advocate, and then see what could be different when you put it in front of an audience. Because, for example, in Heathers, I'm thinking of a good example. Heathers was 25 years ago was an amazing answer to the Reagan era, and it had a great nihilism that movies didn't have. It was cartoonish and weird and extreme, but it was also much more truthful than a lot of the candy-coated John Hughes wish fulfillment vehicles like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club. Those were wonderful movies, and they were truthful in their own way, but they all sort of said the same thing, which is the cheerleader can fall in love with the poor kid. No,
Larry, are you telling me they can't?
No, the cheerleader would
break
not
my
fall
heart.
in love.
Classic poor kid love story.
Exactly. So at the time, it was a really wonderful, dark sort of antidote for some of the bullshit. For some of the Reagan era, myths, and it was a lot of good whistleblowing, but it was very dark, and a lot of it was very hopeless. There is a lot of hope at the very end when Veronica, Winona Ryder, rips the red scrunchie off of Heather Duke, who has recently assumed power. And she puts the scrunchie on her own head and says, "Sorry, Heather, there's a new sheriff in town." And she goes off and she's pointedly kind and nice in front of everybody to Martha Dumptruck, who was the lowest of the low. And there's a new regime. And we said, aha, that is the soul of the entire show. That moment of hope and righteousness and justice shows up, literally in the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Before that, 95% of that movie could be just, hopeless. You could look at it saying like it's saying nothing but high school's horrible. But no, you realize in the last 5 minutes, there is a point, there is a justice, and there is a restoring of balance to the world in this movie. And blink and you miss it in the movie, but we said, aha, that's our spine, and we have to make the burning for justice be the spine of Winona Ryder's character. In the movie, she's very reactive. She's almost passive, that she gets buffeted from person to person and leader to leader, or, from Heathers who say, well, I'll make you safe, and then they don't. And JD says, I'll make you safe, and he can't because he's a monster. And so we realized that is good for movies. when you have a close up and you can see the doubt and the fear on and the morals and the conscience on Winona Ryder's face. But you need more active heroines in theater. So we had her burning for justice from the very beginning, taking matters into her own hands, and instead of being pushed from person to person and mistake to mistake, she's lunging at mistake after mistake. If that makes sense.
Because one of the things I noticed when Julie and I saw it a couple of months ago now, saw it early on. We had such a great time. Is that it's a warmer show than the movie. And I'll be honest with you, Larry, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this, but I don't like the movie Heathers. I think it's too dark, but I love Heathers the musical.
Oh, thank you.
Precisely for that reason, because I feel like it's a more hopeful, warmer, it's a more sort of like optimistic take on it with still the same amount of humor and stuff, you know?
Thank you. We kept a lot of the darkness and the bad behavior, but we didn't keep all of it for two reasons. One is Heathers was needed in 1989. Mm-hmm. There was so much, walking on sunshine, morning in America crap going on that it was good to have something dark and ruthless that says, no, stop lying to yourself. This is how your kids are really treating each other. This is how we really talk in high school.
Right.
And people need to know about that. Now people do know about that. We live in a world that has been influenced irrevocably and globally by Heathers. Everything from Clueless to Legally Blonde to Paris Hilton to Pretty Little Liars to Gossip Girl to Mean Girls certainly, but also not just these stories about how high school kids treat each other, but also the bling, the conspicuous consumption, the fetishizing of beautiful mean girls in the form of the Kardashians, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's everywhere.
It's out there.
And so we didn't need to recapitulate that verbatim. It was much more subversive to say, okay, now that we've identified, yes, we live in a world full of trolls and whistleblowers, what do you do once you've blown the whistle? And so we've changed the focus just a tiny bit. All we needed to do is just a tiny bit of focus, focusing on people trying to fix their lives, which is, as it turns out, the meat and potatoes of musical theater. People trying to better their lives and better their communities is sort of every great musical that I know, and maybe you may agree that every great musical has someone trying to better their community.
Right.
We have Larry O'Keefe here. He is the composer and lyricist for Heathers the Musical. You're listening to Heathers the Musical, the special, because the soundtrack is out now.
It's so special.
And we are excited that we're going to have some music to play. But before we take a listen to a track, I want to kind of ask you in terms of watching the movie and pulling out key words to make songs, because you want to obviously drag people. And we're going to be playing some of the music from the actual soundtrack through this hour, and it's all instrumental. It's all composed music, which probably gave you a lot of leeway to grab onto words.
I'm not sure what you mean by instrumental.
Like the whole soundtrack of the movie is just composed music. It's nothing. There's no hit songs like a John Hughes film or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. It was a minuscule budget the movie was made for, and so they went. I think it was Thomas Newman or David Newman. One of those.
I think it's David Newman.
And he just went to his synthesizer and made some great sounds. And it's an icy cold, sort of brilliant, weird score. But we were not influenced by that directly. We knew that, in fact, we needed to warm it up in places. So there's a ton of other influences, including music of the 80s, music of the 70s, stuff like that. But my co-writer, my co-composer, lyricist, co-lyricist, and co-book writer, Kevin Murphy, was really great at pulling individual words out of the movie. He loved, some of those lines are so great and tasty, lines like "Our love is God," which is a throwaway in the movie. I think at one point, Christian Slater just says, "Our love is God. Let's go get a slushie." But it was such a strange little word that it played on our brains, and finally we realized it would be great to make this sort of the battle cry or the mantra of the obsessed JD, who has clearly fetishized his love for Veronica and put her on a weird pedestal to justify all sorts of horrible behavior that he already probably was inclined to do.
And Larry, when you work with someone like Kevin Murphy for this, how do you guys decide how to tackle something like this together? Because I would imagine that composing and songwriting generally is a very individual act, but here you guys are paired together. Kevin done work on Reefer Madness and other things as well. How do you guys divide labor? Do you guys do everything together? What's the logistics of putting something like this together?
Well, every team is different. This is my first show that I've worked on with Kevin, but I've known him for 15 years, and we'd always wanted to work together, and we liked how each other's weird, zany brains worked. And so in this case, Kevin is a brilliant book writer and lyricist, and he's got great musical chops too. In my case, I'm not so big on the music and I'm not so big on the book and the structure. I can do it if I have to, but I like leaving it to people who are better. So if you were going to do a little continuum, on the far left, anything that is nothing but book and nothing but structure, Kevin probably took the lead on that, although I was meddling. And on the other end, way on the other end, anything that was just pure music was probably more me. But again, Kevin meddled all the time.
Right.
And we just, we trust each other. So we all sort of made a great big gumbo of competitive, cheerful effort. We love to be the one to solve a problem, but we had a great time getting each other's business. It's not true of all songwriting teams. Some people are, one guy's nothing but lyrics, one guy's nothing but book, but we like to mix it up.
So tell us about this Dead Girl Walking, because it's a song that's really fun in the musical. It's a good little intro for us to play a bit.
This is the greatest. This is one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. The incomparable Barrett Weed is the latest person to sing Veronica, and there's never been anyone like her. She plays Veronica, who's just been excommunicated by the Heathers, the 3 evil girls who rule her school, and she has just recently met a mysterious dark boy named JD, who seems to be offering her another way. So it's probably 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning after a party that she's been thrown out of, and she's wandering the suburban streets, desolate and devastated because she's going to be cut off at the knees on Monday and no one will ever speak to her again. It'll end her life. And she looks up and happens to see, this hot boy going to bed in his house. And she's like, I know what I'll do. I'm going to climb in that window.
What a lovely
Yeah, I'm
80s
like, oh,
sentiment.
yes.
Let's do it. Dead Girl Walking from Heathers the Musical.
The demon queen of high school has decreed it. She says Monday 8 a.m. I will be deleted. They'll hunt me down in study hall, stuff and mount me on the wall. 30 hours to live, how shall I spend them? I don't have to stay and die like cattle. I could change my name and ride up to Seattle, but I don't own a motorbike. Wait, here's an option that I like. Spend these 30 hours getting freaky. Yeah, I need it hard. I'm a dead girl walking. I'm in your yard. I'm a dead girl walking.
We're listening to the track Dead Girl Walking, which you can hear on Heathers the Musical, the soundtrack, which is out today. Woo-hoo. Digital download, CD. You can hold it if you want to. It's up to you if you want to live those 80s vibes.
I love Barrett Weed's voice, too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't remember. What was it that I described it as? It was like eating a delicious barbecued unicorn sandwich.
Did you describe it here? Or
I missed that.
I was like, was I zoned out during that?
No, that's no.
The music, we should say, the music from the show is so great and so much fun. We're going to play several tracks from the soundtrack that's out today and available. Do record stores still exist?
Somewhere.
Yeah,
but I was going to say it's cute because the full cast, or most of the cast, is here, and they were all vibing and jombing their heads as the music was playing. You guys aren't sick of it yet. They're all saying no. They're all saying no. I always wonder about that. Like, do you, Larry, and I realize, it's your own music, but at some point you probably think, like, I need to let go of these songs. They're done. Like, you can't hear them. At some point?
It's actually usually true, but with Heathers, I just don't get tired of it. I've been working on this for years, and I've done a bunch of demos, but it's really nice when you can work on the album, and it's just you and your partner, in this case, Michael Kreuter from Yellow Sound Lab and Yellow Sound Label. He's just amazing, and he's done Matilda, he's done First Date, he did Cinderella, and he's just unbelievably good, and it was a wonderful experience just to put it together. So, I don't get tired of the sound of it. I am still grooving out at 2 a.m. I'm brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. But suddenly I'm like, I'll just play one more song. And suddenly I'm playing Candy Store at the top of my lungs, and I'm just shaking my butt.
That happens to me with Oh My God, You Guys from Legally Blonde, the musical, which of course you also wrote with your wife, Nell Benjamin.
That's right.
Can I ask you how it is to write something like this, like Heathers the Musical, as opposed to something like Bat Boy, which folks love as well and is one of Larry's iconic calling cards? Because when you're creating something that's entirely original as opposed to something that's based on source material, I'm sure that it's sort of a different approach as well.
Well, Bat Boy was also based on a kind of source material because it was based on the Weekly World News, the character from that black and white tabloid, things like Loch Ness Monster spotted on White House lawn.
Right.
But Bat Boy.
He was.
Yeah, but we completely rewrote the myth of Bat Boy, and it bears no real relation to what you see in the pages. But almost every great musical is an adaptation of something. Oklahoma is an adaptation of a play called Green Grow the Lilacs. So it's almost, it's much, much harder to write a show based on no precedent at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I do like finding some piece or some book or some story that no one has thought of to musicalize, but I'm not afraid of it. The mechanics are the same. The bones of a story are the same. Musicals, it turns out, are a lot more like action movies than they are like straight plays without songs. Because you only have so much time to get the plot out of the way before you get to the car chase.
Right.
So the car chase is, in an action movie, it's a lot of fun action, but it doesn't necessarily move the plot forward really far. You can have a 3-minute amazing car chase, but not much has changed by the end of it. It's similar to the way a song works in a musical. That the joke was the story. The old story was the story and the plot stops for the song. That's not really true anymore. You can't have a plot just stop dead and explore a feeling.
Right.
People get impatient now, but it's true that the plot has to go a little slower while people are singing, and so the way you put a musical together is pretty coherent. It can be taught, and it's pretty predictable that you have a hero who tries to set it out to fix something and hopefully succeeds and fails and succeeds and fails, and by the end of it you have a big explosion.
I'd like you to write a musical about News and Notes, the show that Julie and I host on this channel. I feel we've got a lot of material for you. It's an amazing
your
I think
your
so.
descent into drink will be very helpful, Brad, too.
My journey. Yeah. I'd like a big 11 o'clock number.
You will have one.
I feel like some of my vocal cords have not been tested adequately on
I
the
believe
show.
you.
Okay.
No, that is an interesting point, though, because in some ways, like, to me, if I were writing a musical, I would probably just harp on, my dead gay son and not think to, like, push the plot forward, because I'd be like, oh, I just want to explode this scene or something.
Sure.
So would you have to, go back and forth between your writing partner or something and say, like, is this helping, or am I just, like, harping on an idea?
Well, that was a great example. For the song Dead Gay Son, it's in the movie, there's a funeral of a kid who everyone thought, of two kids who everyone thought died in a suicide pact, a gay repressed suicide pact, a very tragic star-crossed lover football story. It's actually not true. It's a murder. But the moment was hilarious because in the middle of all this darkness, a dad who's clearly like a Midwestern football type guy, a man's man, confronts what he thinks is his, son's secret and says, my son's homosexual. I love him. I love my dead gay son. And everyone laughed in the theater. But we realized that that moment is so strange and dark and so full of different layers that we said, well, that should be a song. So Kevin, thank you very much. Kevin then came up with a song, which was the dad basically saying, I've learned this and I've learned that, and now it's time to love her dead gay son. And I was like, well, that's almost there. I think that is enough to support about a minute and a half of material. But the average big production number that you're thinking about doing, the average production number is like 3 minutes. And you got to fill that other 90 seconds with something else. You got to go beyond what's in the movie. And what we turned out was, let's bring the other dad. The other dad has not learned yet, and he's bigoted, and he's scared, and he's traumatized, and he's ashamed, and he blames his son. And so the song is about the fight between the dads, and that the one who's learned something from this horrible tragedy is berating the bigoted, fearful one and trying to yank him around to some enlightenment. And then we have a fun surprise.
Right. Now, if you have not seen Heathers, the musical, you can listen to the soundtrack. It's out today. You can get it digitally. You can get it on record if you want. Are you guys going to have an LP? Is there going to be a vinyl release of Heathers, the musical?
Want to do it.
I think you guys should think about it.
Get a 12-inch for remixes.
Exactly. And if you're going to be in New York City, it's playing at the New World Stages, which is on 50th Street, and go to heathersthemusical.com. Larry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Larry O'Keefe is the composer and lyricist of Heathers the Musical. You're listening to Heathers the Musical, the special. And when we come back, we're going to have Veronica, JD, and Martha, a.k.a. Barrett Wilbert Weed, Dave Thomas Brown, and Katie Ladner. So stay with us. You're listening to Heathers the Musical, the special on Entertainment Weekly Radio.
We'll teach the world to love. The world to love. I love my dead gay son. My son, dead gay son.
Your DVR is full. Your iPod and Kindle are maxed out. you have a problem. This is your answer.
News and notes.
What to watch, listen to, and read. What to save for later. And what to skip. Skip it.
Yeah.
This is News and Notes on Entertainment Weekly Radio.
You're listening to Entertainment Weekly Radio. I'm Julia Cunningham.
And I'm Mario Correa.
We are right now, I guess you could say, what do we do? We're like hosting this special. Heather's the Musical, the special.
We're Heathersing out.
Oh my
That's what
gosh,
we're
we're
doing.
all over it. We have Barrett Weed, Veronica.
Hey.
We have Dave Thomas Brown, JD.
Hi there.
And we have Katie Ladner, Martha, which I don't even want to say Martha Dump Truck because you're sitting right here, but
Okay, I'm used to it.
I mean, are you used to
Yeah.
pulling in that
Take the name,
idea?
do a show.
Yeah? I want you guys all to come a little bit closer to your mic.
Get on there, you guys.
You're the first shy
Guys, I know, I'm
theater
like,
folks I've ever met. I have a very important question we have to start out with, though.
I'm like, isn't your job to be in microphones? No, you guys have to wear those like little head ones, right?
Yeah.
They come to us.
The little ones that look like moles. Everybody thinks that there's like moles on my forehead, and I'm like, no, that's a microphone.
It's a microphone.
It's creepy though.
Yeah, is that strange for you guys? Because I imagine that when you guys train to perform on stage, for wherever each of you guys train, I know,
Sure.
that you're not usually trained to be mic'd, that you just like belt it out to the rafters. What's it like to then get on stage and be like, oh my gosh, I can just like sing in a normal voice?
I think like every production I've ever done, like even all through school and like when I was working in college and now, like the mics are always like really testy. Like you never know if they're actually gonna work. And I actually have two in the show just in case like one cuts out, they can click over to the other one. But yeah, like so I think I've been like trained to like fight microphones, so it's really nice to not have to do that now.
Yeah, seriously. I love that now people think you have two moles, but it's really just two microphones.
Yeah, no, it's
Getting
really
that word
just
out
like a
there.
giant lump on my forehead.
So now, did you guys like grow up with the movie? Like when you heard it was being turned into a musical, did you just think like, I need to be involved with this project? Or was it more like, I just want to be up on stage?
Just want to get up
I
there.
just want to get up there.
I didn't come in contact with the movie until a few years ago. Like I lived a very sheltered childhood, and my mother is a
This is
wonderful
Barrett talking
woman.
with speeds.
Yeah,
Who's
that's me.
Veronica.
I'm Barrett. This husky voice is me. No, I lived a very sheltered childhood, and my mom's an amazing mother, and so she would never have ever let me watch anything like that. So I saw it a couple years ago and fell in love, and immediately afterwards there were like whispers that it was being made into a musical, and I was like, I will kill everyone until I get that. Like I don't know how it's. I was like, they're probably gonna hire somebody famous, but like I'll just kill them all. Like, sorry.
Same here. Same here. All these 80s cult classic songs came to me. I mean, 80s cult classic movies came to me in my post-sheltered years as well. But yeah, I encountered the movie a couple years ago and I loved it.
Katie, how about
interesting.
you? Were you a fan, Katie?
I watched it when I was auditioning for the show.
Oh, really?
So bad.
Wow.
Horrible.
It's a
It's
little
like
bit
sheltered
before
kids
our
grabbing
time.
onto
I'm
this
from
movie.
South Mississippi. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a thing. And
That's not a thing. I love it. Well, you know what? I think that might be actually sort of helpful because I imagine that if you go into either auditions for a show like this or the performance itself, and you've carried this movie in your head your entire life, that it could really be sort of like off balancing. You know?
Yeah,
For
that's
sure.
that's a great point. Actually,
yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for me, I didn't even actually see the musical before I auditioned for it because I just sort of wanted to take my own take on what was on the paper and what Kevin and Lawrence had written. So magically and that was I chose not to see it before I saw was in it.
Yeah, because we should say that you have just entered the musical.
I
as
am.
a
I'm the
first show.
freshman.
He had his first show on Monday.
And how'd it
my
go?
gosh.
It was incredible. I mean,
Yeah?
it
You
was
killed wonderful.
It was awesome.
it was the school the show is based on the Westerberg High School. Like I feel like it's a high school that I belong in, and like I'm part of this family, and everyone's
killed it,
awesome.
Before you killed them
shall we
all.
say.
Before I killed them all.
Right, literally killed them
Nice.
all.
No, off stage we're all good friends.
And I was going to actually ask you guys, so Bear and Katie, when you guys are with a company that's been now performing for a number of months,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden someone else comes into your ensemble in a really critical role, how do you guys
You're like, we're
sort
all
of-
Heathers.
Yeah. How do you guys fit someone new in and sort of keep going without sort of breaking speed, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of hazard of the trade. Like it's when you're doing a musical, and it's a musical that has the good fortune to to run, people start to move on to other things or take a break and then come back like a few months later. And so, you know, when Ryan decided to move on and I knew we were going to have a new JD, I like got super nervous. Like I was like, oh God. Cause like, you know, cause Ryan and I did the workshop together in LA. And so we'd been working together for like upwards of 10 months or so. But I was like, you know, it's like, it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. But I straight up like sent, and then like, cause you know, it's a small business and like not to be like crazy, but like I have my own best interest at art. And I straight up sent our producers like a list of people who I was like, if you hire them, I will kill you. Like,
Wow.
Okay, now all right, alphabetically.
But then like Dave came out of the woodwork and I was like, I never heard of this guy, and he's, you know, just a genius and great, and we get along great and our chemistry is awesome. So I really lucked out with him. Super fortunate.
I'm straight imagining that scene in like Billy Madison with like Steve Buscemi with like lipstick on, like crossing off names on the list.
Who was on that list? You know we're gonna ask you.
Oh,
who's
I'm
on that
not
list.
gonna tell you. Are you kidding?
And you know we're not
It's
like,
you know who's
you're
on the
not
list?
leaving the show.
It's like
stupid,
Christian
like,
Slater,
oh my
like,
God.
oh, whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, ugh, please. Well, yeah, it was, you know, there was just some people, you know, you like run into some people and I'm like, well, he's too short for me, so he can't
He
play this
can't be
part.
JD.
You must be this tall to
Yeah,
play
you must be at least however tall you are to play JD.
That's
You're listening to Heather's the Musical, the special. We have Veronica, who is Barrett Weed, who's speaking. Dave Thomas Brown, who is JD, who you're hearing speaking. And Katie Ladner, who plays Martha, who is speaking. I want to know what you guys think of the audience reaction, because I have not been to a show that is so boozed up and hooting and hollering.
It's a
Andrew and I
blast,
went on the
man.
same night. Yeah, we had maybe like
It's a
7
freaking
glasses
blast.
of wine. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
7 minimum.
Yeah.
But like you must have consumed at least 7 volumes of alcohol
And
before
that's
you
just
come into the
before
theater.
intermission.
That's before
Yeah.
intermission, yeah.
Yes.
Act 2 was when it got serious.
But that's
yeah.
you know that's the kind of show it is. It's really fun. I've never done anything like that where people are just like blackout drunk and like yelling. Like some people have yelled like full sentences like in the middle of. There's like there's a scene where like Dave and I are making out for a little bit in the middle of a song, and like you haven't experienced this yet, Dave, but like sometimes people will yell, like they'll yell full sentences.
It's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Like
One time, this was before Dave's era. What did we say? Like
Before the
BD,
David era?
Before Dave. Somebody like because it's like it's in the middle of 17, which is our really dramatic duet or whatever, and so we're singing, and then there's a break in the music, and then we literally just make out for like a certain amount of time, and then we sing,
Do
and then we
it.
start singing
Full
again.
sentences.
Make out.
We like stopped kissing and like looked at each other, which is like part of the show, and someone literally yelled, "Please keep going!" Like ridiculous. It's so
that's
funny.
Focus.
Yeah, and Ryan and I were like, "Oh my God!" Like, don't break. But it's just like it's hilarious. You never know what you're gonna get, and like sometimes you get the after brunch crowd that's just like a bunch of like Tory Burch ladies and their friends that are just they've been like having mimosas all day. They're like ready to see a show, and so they're like just screaming and like squeaking and like. It's really funny. It's great. It's a great time.
I want to go back now.
I
You just
know.
like resold
But
it to me.
Yeah.
And then you also
it's
have
really funny.
then you also have the iconic lines
Yeah.
from the movie that it's just always fun, like, cause lick it up, baby, lick it up, and all these, and everyone will, the whole audience will break
waiting
into
for it. It's
applause.
so funny,
and
yeah.
because I think it's sort of like these little Easter eggs that people are waiting for, and
Totally.
and
Just their
but then they're also
childhood, and
getting
they're happy
getting
about
the sort of crazy awesome thing that is the musical and not the movie that
Yeah.
the sort
People
of
can grab onto.
the
Yeah.
new stuff
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the happiness of it.
The improvements and the elaborations too, that people are like, oh, they walk out and they're like, oh, they didn't ruin it. It was actually great.
Right.
And we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we were going for. We were hoping that you.
Side note.
Yes.
Well, why don't we hear 17,
Yeah,
the
girl.
song that you mentioned, and while we hear it, I want you guys to make out.
Make
and
out.
Julia and I will
Great.
yell
Keep
things.
Full
going.
sentence.
Yeah.
So
Full
let's
sentence.
hear 17
I'll just
from
breathe in the
Heather's
back.
the
I'll
music.
point to you.
Exactly.
I'll point
Katie,
to you
you can
like
yell at
at-
us, Katie.
Okay,
I'll
great.
point to you at the part where you're supposed to start
Okay,
yelling.
okay.
Yeah,
like
okay.
belligerently
Do it.
drunk
Okay.
yelling.
Here's 17.
Fine. Or damaged, really damaged, but that does not make us wise. We're not special. We're not different. We don't choose who lives or dies. Let's be normal. See bad movies. Sneak a beer and watch TV. We'll bake brownies or go bowling. Don't you want a life with me? 17. That's all I want to do. If you could let me in, I could be good with you. People hurt us.
Make out, make out.
They're already doing it. Folks can't see it, but you guys are so. Oh my God! Enough.
Settle down.
Sorry.
And we're back.
That is
forgot
one of
where we
the
were
most.
for a minute.
I love that song,
Oh,
and
thank
people
you.
really, really
you.
dig that song.
We love it too.
Yeah, Katie. There's also a song that you do. You do
Oh,
several. One of
Mama.
them, you bring
Oh,
down the house.
Thank you.
Tell us about your song, because I think it's one of the ones that really like resonates, and you kind of steal the show at that point too.
Oh,
yep.
Do you guys hate her for it?
No, I love
Absolutely
it.
not.
I love it because it's so unexpected and people don't really know that Katie has the voice that she has until that song, and they're literally like, oh,
Sober
Just like-
moment.
yeah, sober
It's true,
moment
though.
/ like jaws
Yeah,
on
no,
the
it really is.
ground.
So
/
tell us-
sometimes people yell when you sing too. They're like, that note, girl.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying to kill myself.
So do the setup of the song for folks who haven't seen Heathers the Musical.
Actually, it's really different than the movie. My part, because the Martha character only says one line in the show, and the wonderful work of Larry and Kevin, they have made this wonderful character that's like super heart. She's just the heart of the show, I guess I should say. She's just got beaten down by like the Heathers, and when it really crosses over is when her best friend Veronica turns against her to actually save her life, essentially, because she figures out who is doing all these murders. Well, there's another backstory. Like Martha is in love with Ram Sweeney, who is one of the horrible jocks who like essentially is rude to her the entire show.
We'll meet Ram a little bit
Ugh.
later.
As he-
He's the worst.
Ugh, Ram.
but he it's right after the scene where Veronica has literally just told her like, you need to get over it, like it's over, like no one loves you, kind of thing. And she essentially just figures out she's sad and she's upset, but she realizes that, you know what, I had this dream one time that I could be happy, and the only way I can be happy is if I get out of this world and go to my own world, essentially,
Right.
attempting suicide. And so it's a beautiful song. It starts off really funny, like really tongue-in-cheek-esque, and it's just like
It's amazing.
they talk about like Ram gave her a scab, like it was just like his scab, and she kept it
God.
forever in a locket.
We've all been there.
We've all
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Listen.
I still
Yeah.
have my first boyfriend's scab.
Me too.
No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
that was a
yeah.
joke. Never mind.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was a
It's
joke.
more, yeah.
Yeah.
But and then it turns into like, there's this line that's literally you talk about like audience participation, like audible gasp, like they're like scab, and then they're like, I say certain boys are just for kindergarten, certain girls are meant to be alone, and there's always like you can
Yeah.
literally feel like the daggers going into everyone's like sides. They're like,
Yeah.
crap, and then
And you just want to hug her. You're like,
Sirius.
Martha.
I want to
it's
hug you right
okay."
I know,
now. Look
like-
how you describe it.
I know,
Okay.
I'm like, And if you've not heard this, the musical, the soundtrack to the musical, Heathers the Musical, is out now. It's out today.
Yeah.
We're like feeling extra special that you're letting us play some of these songs, you guys.
Really.
So kind.
Exclusive.
So happy
All
you
right,
wanna
you
play with
guys
us.
are the best. You can see Heathers the Musical at the New World Stages. It's on 50th Street here in New York City. Go to heathersthemusical.com. Guys, thank you so much for being
Thank you
here.
guys.
Thank you
You
so
guys are
much.
absolutely wonderful. Barrett Weed, Dave Brown, Katie Ladner, Martha, JD, and Veronica. And when we come back, we're going to have a Heather, Ram, and Kurt on. So stay with us. You're listening to Heathers the Musical, the special on Entertainment Weekly Radio.
There was a boy I met in kindergarten. He was sweet. He said that I was smart. He was good at sports and people liked him. And at nap time once we shared a mat. I didn't sleep. I sat and watched him breathing. Watched him dream for nearly half an hour. Ooh.
Your DVR is full. Your iPod and Kindle are maxed out. You have a problem. This is your answer.
News and notes.
What to watch, listen to, and read.
What to say for later?
And what to skip. Skip it.
Yeah.
This is News and Notes on Entertainment Weekly Radio.
You're listening to Heather's the Musical, The Special.
So special.
I'm Julia Cunningham.
And I'm Mario Correa.
And we have the kind of villains now to round up
You
the
guys are
end
the
portion.
worst.
Specialist.
So misunderstood. We have Jessica Keenan Wynn, Heather.
Hello, that's me.
We have John Eidson.
It's actually Edson.
Edson, excuse me, Ram.
Yeah.
And Evan Todd, Kurt.
That's right.
Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Do you guys feel bad that folks like us disparage you in this way before introducing
We're
you?
like,
Are you guys always defending your character as good actors would?
No, we're pretty awful.
No, as the heart center of the show, I
Right.
think we carry a lot of emotional weight.
Yeah. No, it's actually really. I think it's really fun to play these parts because I was certainly not the bully growing up, so it's kind of fun to turn around and do that now.
We should remind folks that you guys are the two jocks who who basically are not very nice, but then are killed, and we believe you to be two gay guys who sort of done like murder-suicide pact.
Yeah, Veronica and JD end up deciding that they're going to play this prank on us where they get us to come to the graveyard and thinking that we're going to have some special threesome with Veronica.
As you
Classic
do.
As
As
you
you do. in
As
high
you
school.
do.
As we had just been
Yeah.
going around the
Hot
school
threesome.
bragging that we had, even though we hadn't.
Right.
So
We're going to retroactively make it true.
we end up showing up, and they stage this kind of gay suicide pact between Kurt
I
and
laugh.
Ram.
Oh, gay suicide. That's hilarious.
It's a classic gay suicide pact.
It's it's a common practice
Right,
in
exactly.
movies, and
And Heather, you are Jessica. Jessica, you are Heather.
I mean, it's
Chandler. Look at-
interchangeable. It's interchangeable.
Look at how I was so taken by your performance. I literally. But you
We
are
should say the main Heather of the Heathers.
the blonde
Yeah.
Heather for folks who
The
are.
Heatherist.
In the show, they call her the mythic bitch. I think that is so fitting. She
Yeah.
just has, I think she's legendary within the school as just raising hell if you step out of line and, obey her every word, please, and thank you.
typecast.
Typecast, yeah.
Does it just feel right every night when you're like pulling on that like schoolgirl's outfit and you're just like, bitch mode?
Yes, it
and,
does.
like,
It
yeah,
does for me.
It does for you.
Every single time.
You
Oh,
love
you were
it.
talking to Jessica.
Oh, sorry, that was directed to
Oh,
Jessica.
yeah. No, Jessica, you take that one.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Evan Todd. Yeah, and like pulling up those like thigh-high Argyle socks, it just like has
Like,
a little bit of that like wicked. And I loved Clueless, and I feel like that it still kind of goes back to that because they had the Argyle look. They were like the cropped little vests. So I'm taking a note from the 80s and the 90s and adding a little raunch, staunchy, mean lady to it.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
As you
Right?
do.
As you do.
Yeah.
Now, with a little bit of a spoiler alert, you don't take a face plant on the glass table in Heather's the Musical as you do in the movie, which I think is a good thing because I can't imagine you would want to do that. Was that like part of like your contract? I'm not
breaking my
smashing
face.
through
I
glass
tried
every
to get
night.
it into the contract.
Oh, okay.
No, I know. The dramatic nature of that in the movie is so powerful and so great. But we get it done, and the dialogue
yeah.
afterwards between Veronica and JD is just as funny as a table crash would be.
No, totally.
So it makes up for it. But just had a little Drano and little
happens.
little coconuts.
Yeah.
I'm out.
What can you do? And then our boys, Kurt and Ram, we see you for a good portion of the movie just in your underwear.
Thank God.
Or I mean, not movie, excuse me, musical.
Yeah.
Not enough
It's
in
a
the
movie
movie.
in
my mind. Yeah,
more
true.
than enough in the musical.
They
Yeah,
solved
a
that
lot.
problem really well. We get to come. Spoiler alert: the dead teens get to come back and actually be a part of the second act, which is really fun.
Yeah,
and we
that's-
loved when we did it in LA. We didn't actually have the costumes until like the day before we started, and there would just be moments where John and I would look at each other and go, "Oh, we're gonna do this in our underwear." This is all the curtain call.
We're
Oh yeah,
actually
everything
doing this,
cool,
and
everything.
I think I even asked our director Andy. I was like, "Are we really gonna do the whole second act in our underwear?" He's like, "Well, we'll discuss it." And then he came back to me. He's like, "Well, we decided that there's no closets in heaven, so
Right.
you're
Right.
kind of stuck in what you died in."
We're going
Right.
method.
Yeah, right. It made perfect sense. So now
It's
we strut
funny,
around in
like-
our underwear, and I've gotten way too comfortable just
But only in,
hanging
the
out of my
only in the
undies.
context of the show, though. That's the funny thing is I'm so used to being in front of people, like 400 people, 500 people in my underwear. Only in that space. If it happened again, in a different space, it would be jarring.
This is a wildly inappropriate question, but
Yeah.
are you guys
Shoot.
like supported somehow? Or do you just like run around in your underwear the whole time in that act? I was thinking about
I
that.
try
like,
to support them as much as
I
I can.
Yeah, we get a lot
I
of
really
emotional
do.
emotional
you do.
support.
We are wearing we're wearing dance belts, which
Details,
I don't know if you've ever
details.
worn one of those.
No.
It's awful.
What is it?
It's a belt
what-
that holds your dance in.
Yeah,
Essentially,
keeps
what
in
it
the
is.
dance. It's what ballet dancers wear under their
Oh.
tights, which keeps everything smooth and
Oh.
up.
Good
But-
word.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But
We're getting really technical. I
but
love
Yeah,
this.
these are all
when you're
official
not
theater
wearing
terms.
when you're not wearing tights and you're wearing regular underwear, which is designed to be regular underwear, it's just a weird combo. It's very uncomfortable.
Interesting.
So sometimes our dance belts will peek out of our underwear a little bit. It looks like we're wearing like ladies' underwear underneath or something. It's like, no,
We're wearing girdles.
it's just protection.
Don't worry
eyes.
about it.
Yeah.
I love how we're pulling the curtain back.
I
on Heathers
know.
the
We're really
musical.
getting in there.
This
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
gritty
yeah.
stuff.
Totally. Tell us about Candy Store, Jessica. So I love this song that you sing in the musical. It's really one of the most fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, tell us about it. Set it up for us.
Set it up. So, Veronica, I asked Veronica to do her first favor. Not really favor to Heather, I guess, in a way. First command is to basically forge a note inviting Martha to a big party that they're having over the weekend in Ram's handwriting. And she then ends up getting in my way and defending Martha and speaking up to me, which no one really does because they
Rude.
know their fate.
Yeah.
And so enter Candy Store. If you want to be a part of my candy store and eat all the lovely varieties of candy, you need to stay in line and work at my candy store. As
I'm
a
scared
candy striper.
when- I
Forgive me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like
nervous.
Heather.
The tone. It's like, ah.
Oh my god, that almost
Okay.
cackle.
Yeah.
There's a little, yeah, that's me.
Those
so
aren't even lines from the show.
they're not. I really
Jessica's
did a
heart.
lot of background work into Heather Chandler. So the entire song is telling her the beautiful things that will come if she decides to,
As long as she follows
if she
your will.
follows my way, or what will happen if she doesn't.
So let's hear Jessica Keenan when singing Candy Store from Heathers the Musical.
I like looking hot, buying stuff they cannot. I like drinking hard, maxing dad's credit card. I like skipping gym, scaring her, screwing him. I like killer clothes, kicking nerds in the nose. If you like the balls, you can go play dolls. Let your mommy fix you a snack. Whoa! Or you could come smoke, pound some rum and coke in my Porsche with the quarterback. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Honey, what you waiting for? Welcome to my candy store. Time for you to prove you're not a loser anymore. Then step into my candy store.
I'm in.
Totally.
I'll join you, Heather.
Come along.
I want to kick those nerds in the nose.
What
Who
folks,
doesn't?
Yeah, what folks don't realize is that you're actually meaner in person than the character you play in the show.
What?
It's chilling. It's chilling. By the way, that was Candy Store from Heathers the Musical. The world premiere cast recording is out today on Yellow Sound label, so go and grab it. And the musical, Heathers the Musical, of course, is playing off-Broadway in New York City, so come.
And I will say, I mean, it is really, people have grabbed onto this. I turned on because we have a friend from Watch What Happens Live come on, and I said, the Heathers were bartenders at Watch What Happens Live.
That was so much fun because my dirty guilty pleasure is watching. I've seen every season of The Real Housewives, and I'm a big. I mean, it was like when I was dating my ex, like literally when he would walk out of the room, I'd be like, "And I'm putting on Bravo quietly and secretly, so no one knows that I'm watching it." But I love it so much.
I mean, there
It
are some
was so
Heathers
fun.
on there. So
Oh yeah,
Total Heathers.
literally and figuratively, totally.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe watching so much Real Housewives is why he's your ex? Maybe that's what.
You know me so well.
I know.
Larry
Oh,
O'Keefe
God.
had a Heather in his life that actually is a housewife.
Oh, really?
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
She came to the show, I believe.
She
Really?
was so wonderful and lovely and supportive and loved the show.
Her name is actually Heather.
That's
and
Heather. Is that
she's-
Heather
Heather
Dubrow?
Dubrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, real Heather.
I'm so ashamed. I know
and
that.
like so beautiful in person,
So pretty.
stunningly beautiful
And
in person.
story has it that they actually thought the Heathers movie was based off of the real Heather, their Heather.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that they believe that the Heathers in the movie were just dumber than the real Heather. That actually the real Heather was much smarter and would have had everyone wrapped up in her.
Oh,
her
totally.
Control.
That's what a Heather would say.
Are you a Heather?
Me?
Evan?
Yes, I am. I don't think so.
Do you guys like?
I'm a Kurt.
Oh, really? Does it throw you guys back into high school in a real way, or is it so separate from your experience that you can sort of think of it just no, this is a musical, this is work, or does it really like make you sort of relive the horror of high school that we all lived through, even though you're perpetrating these crimes on stage?
I think both. I mean, it's really awesome to get to play a football player in high school because I actually was a football player in high school, but I wouldn't have considered myself a Ram by any means. But I knew guys like this. So in playing the character, I actually get to bring colors of people I knew into it, and through playing it, I've kind of messed around with different memories and stuff, and brought that all to the character because it was all very real for me, and I'm glad it's in the past. But it's pretty awesome to get the chance to kind of relive it and also be.
Well, I'm
this
happy
guy.
for you, John, because that was not my case.
You
No.
weren't a football player in high school?
I wasn't a football player. in
Were you
high
a Heather?
school. I was an awkward, chubby redhead that was like a choir geek and part of student council.
Oh,
That was
wow.
me. And
So
I was
you
in
were like a
pro-
Martha?
I was.
You
I
were
was
a Martha.
I guess so. I was in a program called the Naturalist Academy that talked all about agriculture, and
Oh,
it
my
probably paved the way for why I'm a
gosh.
vegan. I don't know though.
That sounds awful.
It was great. What are you talking
Sounds
about?
terrible.
It was wonderful.
I was that kid in high school who did way too many things. Like I should not have been president of everything, but I wanted to be so badly. And so I was probably really obnoxious. And I went to a performing arts school, so I never had the jock mentality on campus.
Never had the hierarchy or like the cliques.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were both also kind of new programs, so everyone was on an even playing field. But I totally recognize the archetype and think it's really, really fun to play because it was so not what I was. That it's just fun. It's fun to get to go on stage and do that every night, and also that we can't really have our cake and eat it too. Like we get what's coming to us in the end, which
That's true.
so we can explode that
Redemption.
stereotype because it's a lot of fun to see. It.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Although I am curious to know because we were talking to the JD, Veronica, Martha type character and how, people really grab onto them, but you guys are like the fun ones to love and hate. So are
Yeah,
there
we
people
are.
screaming out to you guys as well from the audience? We've been hearing some stories.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's
I
be
mean,
real. The gay men love themselves some Heather Chandler. So there's some
more
there's some
than the
people
naked boys on
screaming.
stage, I think.
Really?
I mean, there are times when I am, right before I drink the Drano, I am just giving it to Veronica, just making her feel like she is the scum of the earth. And people literally audible from the audience, they're just like, bitch. And I love it. When I hear that, I'm like, oh, thank you. You're just making
It is
giving me
very
some juice.
convincing, let me tell you.
Oh, thank
That's why
you.
I'm sitting with a foot and a half
I know
away
there's so
from
much
you.
space between us
Yeah,
and
but
Heather.
I'm sort of
He's
leaning
slowly
away
scooting
from
back throughout the interview.
Jessica. Yeah.
I also think it's really funny when you look out into the audience and you see all these girls who just want so badly to be Veronica, like they just feel like they're Veronica, and then you see all these men who are like, "I'm totally a Heather," just they're Heathers, and they're so
And then-
excited, and
So
they have
right.
their favorites that they cheer for, and it's
The
a
three
really
guys
fun
who are
show.
like, yeah, I'm probably a Ram.
yeah, definitely Remy.
Maybe.
And it's funny because, it is a show, I think, unlike anything that I've seen off Broadway or even on Broadway lately, where the audience participation and reaction is so strong. Are you guys a little bit taken aback by that? Because I would imagine that the other stuff that you guys have done is a more sort of conventional audience reaction. But in this thing, people are whooping it up with you all.
We encourage it because they're we've had some shows where clearly people probably aren't familiar with the movie and there's not much. They're not really giving much, and we thrive off of audience participation.
It took a little bit of time to. It very rarely happens when we're not expecting it. Like there's key moments in the musical that we know, okay, this line is from the movie. It's going to get some kind of response,
Right.
or there's going to be some interaction. So it's not out of control. Like we don't know when it's going to come. It usually comes at key moments. and
Wait,
it's
do you
really
want to tell
fun.
the story about when Barrett says, I killed them, and that one time that guy yelled? Do you remember what he said?
Veronica.
Oh, I
for-
remember.
Can you please?
It was actually a woman, and
Okay. Oh, your friend.
and it was
Wow,
my friend.
Heather.
It was my high school friend.
Did you see how I did that there?
So Heather.
Yeah, she said he didn't.
He didn't
He
kill
didn't kill
them.
him. I
They didn't
did.
kill themselves.
Yeah.
I did.
And she just went, oh shit.
So loud. And I think it was
Yeah.
on, like, was it Mother's Day or something? It was like, Happy Mother's Day. Right afterwards.
Like yelling that?
Yeah, so loud.
It gets to the point, certain shows where it feels like a Rocky Horror Picture Show thing,
Yeah.
kind of almost. And it's like, I feel like we need to have like props or something the audience gets to throw or something, because it's like they get so into it and they're waiting for these lines that on other shows just you'll never get a response, and all of a sudden it's just like a preposition in the right place, and they'll be like, yeah,
like
that's
throw
my
a
favorite
gun or
line, yeah."
pinatas at us, or
It's awesome. So, and we thrive off of it
Yeah, we
because
do.
it,
It's really
it gives us so much energy to know that how invested they are in what
Right.
we're doing,
Yeah.
And then there's other audiences who are there just to see the musical, and they watch it a different way. So that's the great thing about the show, is we kind of are running down the middle of movie fans and musical fans,
Right.
and there's something a
and
little
newbies
bit for
maybe even
both.
to both. Yeah.
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 John, I was curious what you said about you were a football player in high school.
Yeah.
And what you were a football player / theater guy?
Yeah.
How many of those are
I
there?
did. There was one on Glee,
Oh, right.
which is a documentary
Based on you.
Based on
Based on your
me.
life. Uh-huh.
I did football and I did community theater. So I did the improv troupe at high school, but otherwise I wasn't too involved in high school theater. My mom ran the community theater in my town when I was younger, so that was kind of a good reason for me
that's
to
fun.
get in. But football was always kind of my thing until the end of school. I ended up quitting senior year to play Elvis in this community theater Elvis show, and I felt like, yeah, playing Elvis is cool. I can do that. Like I
Won you over.
Yeah, it won me over, and then eventually I was like, oh, okay, I can be in musical theater, and I never looked back. Yeah,
Nice.
and here I am.
Great.
Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Really
I've
fun.
been I've
So
been
fun.
resold. Like I've seen the show, but it was like months ago. So now I'm like, oh, I need to go back.
Yeah.
You guys are
we're gonna go
reminding
back.
me of
For
what
sure.
a fun
That was
time it
fun.
was.
We're going to yell inappropriate things at the wrong time.
Well, I'm gonna
yeah,
get
yeah, just try and
boozed
throw
up.
us off. Just try and
It also sounds
on our
obviously
toes.
like it would be fun for big groups to go to.
Yeah.
Like if you're coming to New York City for a bachelorette or
We've
something
had
like
them.
that,
We've
yeah.
had 'em.
Come-
We get people who dress up in the costumes, and
Yes.
there will be all the Heathers and a
And
Veronica.
Ben Brantley officially gave everyone permission to get really drunk and come see our
I
show.
know.
So-
Yeah.
That was
I
awesome.
mean,
Do that.
hi.
We have a specialty drink too. I think it's the Drano. It's our specialty cocktail. It's a Drano drink. So
Love that.
Look forward to
Yeah.
that.
So ever
No
you can go
actual
to
Drano in the drink.
No Drano in the Drink. Side note, heathersthemusical.com. It's playing at the New World Stages West 50th Street here in New York City. Heathers the Musical. The soundtrack is out now. You can get it at Yellow Sound Label. It's on iTunes, digital. You can hold a CD if you want to. You choose. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much for
This is so
having
fun.
us.
You've been listening to Heathers the Musical, the special on Entertainment Weekly Radio. heathersthemusical.com.
Great. Veronica, you are looking good tonight. Whoa.
A hot guy smiled at me without a trace of mockery.
Everyone's high as a kite. Ain't nobody home tonight.
Stoned, I should quit. Hey,